And for more on this, I'm joined by Arne Schulke, an aviation expert at IUBH, University of Applied Sciences. He joins me from Bonn. Arne, together, if you look at this massive penalty, 3.6 billion euros, there were also some contract penalties related to the A400M. Massive penalties, is there a bright side to this at all?
I would say for Airbus managers, definitely. They will probably have closed the door and, silently cheer to each other. It's just, one less problem to deal with. The fraud issue has been dragging on for 4 years, and it's just so good to have it out and to be able to concentrate on the today. Let's not forget it was a decade-old problem.
In other words, this was most likely priced in by investors already. They knew this was coming. I want to ask you, Boeing's problems are always in the background of the aerospace industry right now. Has Airbus been able to benefit at all from what's going on with the 737 MAX?
In the short run, surprisingly little, because of the full order books. They have 7,000 somewhat airplanes on order. And they have operational problems to putting them out. So actually, they're under a lot of stress themselves from their own success, I would say. Last year, they put out double as much planes or as many planes as Boeing was able to put out because of the MAX disaster. So that's a mixed picture. In the long term, of course, all of this strengthens Airbus's position because Boeing is concentrating on fixing the problem instead of, as I stated here as well, designing the future. So any day of the grounding of the MAX weakens Boeing and gives Airbus a competitive edge in the long term, yes.
Now, Arne, I want you to stay with us while we look at one more news item related to Airbus. The company using the Singapore Air Show to unveil a prototype of what it believes could be the passenger jet of the future. Now, the Maverick is a scale model of what's known as a blended wing-body aircraft. Airbus claims the revolutionary design would give travelers a totally new experience and be 20% more fuel efficient than the passenger jets we use today. And back to Arne Schulke. This idea of fuel efficiency, this idea of needing to, basically at the center of this is carbon emissions in one sense. And I wanted to ask you, has the aviation industry really had to consider and grapple with this issue of emissions as much as, say, the auto industry has, where it's obviously in a race to come up with viable alternatives? Do we see something similar in the aviation industry?
Very much, and I would say much earlier on, because we have to be aware of one thing. Fuel is 25 to 30% of the cost base of any airline, so it's in their best interest and profit interest to keep fuel costs down. That means efficiency. So aircraft manufacturers have been reducing weight, working with carbon fibers, and better aerodynamics for years. Jet engines are also much more efficient than they used to be. Overall, I think the all industry, everybody has contributed to 30 to 50% in fuel reduction and emission reduction over the past 20 years, which is already great success. And there's nothing like that in the automotive industry. However, when we look at regulation on an international basis, there's very little action. It's very slow. ICAO has put up the Corsia scheme, but it's full of loopholes and is good, I would say, as a compromise, as a Swiss cheese made by a butcher. So that's where a lot more action needs to be seen to solve this global problem of emissions for just the aviation industry.
All right, so more of an international regulatory scheme needed there for the aviation industry. Arne Schulke, aviation expert at IUBH, University of Applied Sciences, joining us from Bonn. Thank you very much.
Thank you.